Welcome everyone to Odd Monday. I didn't realize that the first thing up was an odd Monday after we talked last week, but it is. So we're here today and I'm going to be showing you some odds and ends things um, regarding some of the templates you may have seen, some you may never have seen, some you don't even know exist. What I did want to show you, though, I cannot find. And I've got this great way of organizing templates, but they're not in their spot. So I'm going to have to go on the hunt of it. And that was the feathered leaf wreath. So you could do the feathered leaf in a wreath. So anyway, we'll have to put that off for now. And yes, Happy New Year. That's pretty funny. Somebody said, are all the Lindas here yet? They'll get there, that's for sure. But we are going to go ahead, and I've got, probably 2 trays of templates back here behind me. And we'll just do what we can do in the time limit that we have and see if we can show you something you may never have seen. So I'm going to start out with something that you probably have, but you may not know that there are multiple sizes. So let's go ahead and get started here. So what I'm going to do is get my crosshair square. And I'm going to put it down here in this corner so that I can mark. And I don't know how many of you are new. Some of you I know have been with us for going on 6 or 7 years now. But I am marking with what is called a Choco pen. And in here, I have taken the chalk out. It's by Clover. Mine is very well used, so it's kind of hard to see the name there. But I have removed that chalk, and I have refilled it with what is called iron-off chalk. And the iron-off chalk is by Pounce. And so this allows me to do all of my work and then later go back and just simply iron it off. And I don't have to prep my fabric or anything like that. So we're going to start with this. And this is the Spin-e-Fex Feather Template Set. So this is one that when I first got it, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't think I'll ever learn to use that. And there's several ways to do anything, as you found out, as you've progressed in ruler work and in life in general. And so I'm going to show you the way I do this. And I want you to know that if you get the whole set, you're going to have, well, let's see. It says 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, and 7.5. And I know there's the 7.5. There's my 3.5. It looks like I must have a couple of sets merged together. Let's see here. Yep, because there's a 3.5. And there's a 5.5. And a 4.5. And a 5.5. So I have 2 sets merged together here. I'm going to use the 5.5 to show you how this is done. But all 4 of those sizes are done the same way. So I have drawn 8 lines here because this is an 8-point design. And I'm just simply going to put this in the middle and come into the middle and get it right there. Got to set it for ruler work. I do have my 90 top stitch needle in, and because this is a Janome machine, I'm using the purple tip. So I'm going to go ahead and raise the foot and the needle, and I'm doing what's called flossing. So I'm holding on to this thread and I'm going right underneath there. And we're going to pull that up. So I've got my bobbin thread up. I'll put that needle back down. And we're going to be coming back to the middle multiple times. So I'm just simply, after a little bit of stitching, going to cut this thread. But for right now, it's on top of my template. And in the back, there is a line back here that I'm going to line up. I think you can see it right there. I'm going to stitch all the way around to A, and I'm going right back down to where I started. And this is what's different about the way others do this. I like this because then everything is the same number. In other words, everything gets stitched twice. So I'll show you the way I do it, and I'll show you the way it was intended. So I'm coming to there, and I'm going to be coming clear back down to the center. I'm going to rotate this, line it up again, and this time I'm going to show you the way the instructions tell you to do it. So I'm going to be going around all the way to what is called A, and I'm going to come back and stop at B. Now I've got B covered up. And then I move this, I line up again, and I go all the way back to the center. I would move it again. I would stitch all the way to A and come back and stop at B and rotate. But I'm going to go ahead and go on back to the center. Now, when I picked up there, I obviously let my template move. And the reason that I like to go all the way back, as I said, is then everything is stitched twice. And it's really a lot easier to do this template. So again, it's in the center. And I'm back to the center again. And I don't know what it is, but this just seems easier to me. And especially when I'm doing the little ones, I think it's much more accurate. And you'll see here shortly. Now right there, that I can tell is more than 1/4 of an inch. So we're going to do a little bit of adjusting here. So I am going to measure this and pull that in. So it was not exactly, you can see there's a little space, and I pulled that in. And the reason that I want to do that is I want this to pass right beside that, and I can stop a little bit sooner to make that one match up. So I'll stop when I touch it instead of going clear to the edge. And now let's just go ahead and cut those threads and take a peek at what we did and what we did different. So here's where I started, right here. I went all the way over and all the way back. And then on this one, well, wait a minute. I started at this one. Went all the way over and all the way back. So that was where I started. And then on this one, I started down here and stopped here, moved it over to the next one, and went all the way back. So I think it's probably obvious that this looks a little bit lighter. Obviously, it's only been stitched one time than the rest of these that I did. Now, when I did this one, that's the one that I picked my hands up, and I shouldn't have because it got off kilter there. So that's the way that I do the Spin-e-Fex feather. And this happens to be the whole set. And what did I do with my template? There it is. I covered it up. I want to show you how you can embellish this. So if you've never done this, we'll come back to that center, put that needle down, pull that thread up. I didn't get it the first time. There it is. And I'm going to come out to one of these that you can see here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this acrylic edge up to meet the edge when it first touches one of those stitchings. So now it is offset, and I can come up here and I can give it a little bit of that feathering look. I'll push it in to touch it again. And I always say, well, I don't know what happened there. I always say, if you're going to do this, it should be an odd number. Doesn't have to be, but that's kind of like a rule in flower arranging and all different kinds of things. So we're going to do 3 of them. I'll need to come back to the center and line up with that. I'm not coming as far this time. I caught my thread. And then this will be the last one that I do. So I'm moving it up to that edge. Oh, it's not going to let me do it, girls, because my bobbin thread is empty. I thought I had a full bobbin. But you can see what that feathering does there for the design. So let's just throw in another bobbin and finish that up so you can get a look at it, because I think it really makes it look a whole lot more finished, maybe is the word that I want. I always hate it when it won't let you go any farther, and you know you've got enough to finish the particular design you were working on. But that's the way it goes sometimes. Alrighty. At least we were in the center. Probably should have moved up a little bit more. So let's do one over here so you can see it. I'm touching the edge there. Move it in. Don't come quite as far. And then move it in one more time. That's a good one. Well, except for it went off. So you can see But I think that really gives it a little bit more, like I said, a finished look. All right. Anybody have any questions? No, somebody asked about Spin-e-Fex feather in the box. I don't believe it's in the box. Okay. Okay. Good to have so many of you on tonight. All right, let's go ahead. And the one I'm going to do next is one that was in the last box that I had some people share that they felt it was kind of difficult. So I'm going to show you maybe an easier way to do it. And that was this little teeny tiny one that was called the 3.5-inch Wreath and Echo. It was at the top, or whichever way you turn it, I guess is the top, but it was on one end of the template that had the one that is called Pearls. Okay, so I'm going to show you this one, and just for a bonus, I'll probably show you that one too, because that has an easy way to be done. So that Spin and Echo that we're going to do, or that 3.5-inch wreath, we also need to use, and I'm just going to get it lined up here with this one and pull it down a little bit because it's not nearly as large. And since it's only 3.5, I don't have to go out very far. And I'm simply going to cross this. And this one needs 16 lines. So I have got 8 right now. And what I'm going to do is, this is the way it was, and I'm going to rotate it so that the center is still the center, but I am now with the one that is halfway between two of those. That's an etched line that is now on what was already drawn, so I can add a line in between each one. Uh-oh, Ruthie, you came to the show, but you knocked things off. You can't do that. You can't knock things off. So here's the deal. Somebody didn't get as much of attention as we needed today. And so now she's letting me know. So I now have a center. Ignore that line right there and right there. And we need a thumbtack. Now, most of you know that when I use a thumbtack, I use it with a piece of tape on a pen. And I have had this one sitting out here probably for a couple of months. So I am going to get a fresher piece of tape because it's probably dried out. So there's my thumbtack, and I'm simply going to take this and try to get into the middle and set that right on there. And we're going to set that. You got to make sure you get the right hole. This was another thing that happened as I was going around teaching. They would put it on with this hole, and it will not work. It has to be that one right there. So I'm going to set that in there. right there where that blue piece was. And that's why I have it there, is because that's what you got in your box. I like arrows better. But we're going to start. We're going to start at A and bring that thread up. Once you've got it all set up, pull that thread up. Again, it's lined up across this way, and it's lined up back to front. And you're going to come around and then go back to that arrow. Move this over and line up that line right back here that I'm pointing to, and come back and go back to the arrow. And when I say back to the arrow is pointing at the needle. So I hope you can see that. Maybe this would be a little better. I'm moving to the next line. Remember, there's 16 lines. I'm lining that up. And back to the arrow. Make sure I line up over here. There we go. And back to the arrow. And the beautiful part of templates is also the part that I think we sometimes forget about. And that is the fact that if you just follow the edges, they'll take you where you need to go. And you don't have to worry, because right there, we just line it up. I mean, one of the selling features of templates is the fact that you don't have to know what design you're doing or what you're making, or I don't even know how else to say this, but you're guided by a template. We many times say that it's free motion with training wheels. And so when I get back to here, if I'm not exactly, now I can see it right now, I'm lined up. But if I'm not exactly lined up and I move over here and this goes too far like that, don't do that. Put it back on the line where you know it's supposed to be and follow from there. And it just makes it so much easier to be accurate when you're letting the template be the guide, because it's on that pen. And I'm actually sewing through tape here a couple times, which if it was for real, it wouldn't matter. We just rip it out. But I just needed a smaller piece of tape. But as we're working around there, you have so many things that you can rely on to keep you accurate. Now, this particular design, it's going to pass right back down there. And that's going to be done. But I'm going to come back up here because I want it to be uniform. I could stop down there and I've done all the rows of stitching, but I haven't, and I would have had to tie that off. But this just makes it so much easier to be able to follow those lines to get everything so accurate. So you can see there, don't know why it did it on one side and not the other, but I can get that out of there. And now it just makes it so much easier when you look at it. I have to get my, what would we do without our tweezers? Or hemostats, as some people use. Okay. There we go. So that was the design that was in last quarter's box here in the center. Now, there is an echo around this, and I will tell you it's difficult. And I'm going to show you. I'll put my pen back in place. It's very easy to do, but the stitching is extremely difficult. So you put it on the same pen, and you come out here and you line up with one of those ditches, so to speak. What have I done wrong? Anyway, when you do this, you no more than get started than you're finished. So I can never get my stitches looking very good at all. So it is a little bit tricky. So in other words, you're going to put it on that same pen. You're going to line up. You're going to no more. You're going to get started and go from there to there, move it over there to there, and you just keep working your way around. So it creates this border, but it is really, really tricky. All right, so we got that pen back on. We might as well go ahead and do this one. I'm not going to go all the way around, but when you're working with one of these templates, you take the two diagonal lines, and where they meet is the hole that you're going to use. Now I'm going to start, looks like I could get them all, but I'm going to start over here. And I put a blue sticker on the middle line. So the blue is always going to be on a line. Move it to the next line. Move it to the next line. The green goes on the left side here of that line that we've got a blue sticker on. And the red, which is pink, I realize, goes on the right side. So now when I'm doing this, I work so that it's out like to the right. Like if it was a clock, it would be 3 o'clock. And I'm going to put the foot down. Green. So let's just go ahead and pull that thread up. Get things lined up again. That's on that line. And so now it's a backwards C. Start on the red, stop on, or start on the green, stop on the red, rotate to the next line. Blue's always on the line. Stitch, stop on the red, rotate to the next line. Blue's always on the line. And if you will just think of this in little units like that, it makes this design so much easier, doable, whatever you want to call it. And I have the larger pearls, the 1-inch pearls that will do like an 11.5-inch circle. And I really enjoy using those. Now, we've done about half of it. So I am going to switch. And it's not right, but I'm going to go over here to that green. And I'm going to turn it this way. So now what I'm going to do, no, wait a minute. No, I'm going up. I got to get this on the blue. I'm going up here. So I would actually move my stickers up on this side. So I'm starting up there and I'm stopping here because this would now be red. I'm moving it to the line. I'm on the green. And this is the way you would get the line on the inside of the circle. So if you're on the inside of the circle and stitch out, you're going to get it on the top. If you're on the outside of the circle and stitch to the inside, it's going to be on the inside. And you'll see the difference here in a minute. So I'm going to stop right there because I'm kind of running out of fabric. So as you can see over on this side, I started down here and went around to the outside. So I got my straight line or my circle on the outside. And over here I switched. I started on the outside and stitched around this way. So I got my circle on the inside. So you might want to write that down somewhere on your notes with that particular template. The center line is always on one of your 16 lines. This is either going to start here and go this way, or it's going to start up there and come this way. So depending on, start on the inside, go to the outside, it's an outside circle. Start on the outside, go to the inside, it's an inside circle. So hopefully that helps explain that a little bit. And this was put together to be like that. So I don't think it misses this echo at all because that's all the more space there is. And that kind of would probably clutter that up. So anyway, that was one of the templates that if you were in the Elevate Club for the last quarter, what they call the fall box or the fourth quarter box, you've got that template. All right, let's see what other fun we've got here. Well, I want to show you this one. This is another Circles on Quilts wreath template. And again, it uses a pen. And this is one where you're going to draw your 16 lines. So let's just get that done right quick here. So again, I'm going to draw all 16 of these lines. And rotate. So the center is still the center. And we can get a line halfway in between. There we go. Give us a crossing here for our center. And this one comes in multiple sizes. The size that I have is an 11.5. So we'll put this right in here. And put that on the pen there. And this does not have any A's or B's or anything like that, but we're going to start with one straight up like so. And I'm going to start right here. I'm going to go to the next line. And you can see now I'm on that side. So I'm going to come back this way. And that little side to side is making what will end up being a circle in the middle. And again, you've got multiple ways to check on this. Well, I went one back when I shouldn't have. I'm going to turn it around so you can see this. As I'm moving this to the next position, because I'm lining up this line with that, I've also got these lines to line up my stitching from the previous one. So I'm going to go over here. Stop there like I didn't last time and move this side to side. This is also one, if you wanted to, that you could put those little feathers in. And as I was talking, I forgot to do my side to side, but I can do it now. Looks like my bobbin thread's acting a little bit nasty down there. I kind of like the way I'm doing it now better. Do the whole thing and then do the side to side. Sometimes a mistake will teach you an easier way to do something. I think that's enough. You can see what it's going to look like. But you can see there how this doesn't, it's a little bit different shaped. It's not symmetrical like a big oval or anything. So again, it gives you opportunity to do other things with that. Remember, I like to use curves, so you could use part of this as a curve to get from one template to another. If you were looking at doing a connector, because that's a nice, sweet little curve there. So that's how we would do that's number 6 on Circles on Quilts wreaths. Now I'm going to show you something that's very basic, and I may have shown you before, but it's so much fun to find out little things as you're doing your templates, using your templates. Hi, Miss Ruthie. How are you? Huh? Do you want the ladies to see you? I'll turn this around. Ruthie. There she is. Hi, Miss Ruthie. Yep, she's my helper. I call her my princess. She's just a little pint. Okay, I'm going to be using the Spin-e-Fex 36 from the basic sampler set, providing I can put my hands on it. Ruthie's going to get her hands on it. There we go, Ruthie. Now you can't be hogging the show. No, you can't. You'll have to get out of the way, honey. Mommy can't turn it. So let's get in here. and draw again. Won't need very big because this is only a 5.5-inch design. And for those of you that have not heard me say this, I practice a lot on a piece of fabric and then I cover it up and go again. So it looks like my fabric got turned. I need to mark that again because it wasn't on top. But I use up to 3 what I call toppers each time. If there's something I like and I want to preserve that idea, I just snap a picture of it. So this is Spinning Wheels 36 again. Need that thumbtack. And my templates are starting to show that they need a cleaning. So I'm going to have to give them a spa day here pretty soon. When I do, I'll record it so you can see how I clean my templates. So I'm going to be starting at A and going all the way around to B. Each time, if you've not seen this before, there's a little kind of a notch there that allows me to know where A and B actually are. So you stop at B. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Move your straight line up here over from B to A and go again. Let's turn it more so you can see what's going on. And most of you probably already know how to do this. So this is the last one, and obviously if it was a design I was going to be using, I would at this point pull my threads up and secure them. I'm just going to cut right now. But what I found out quite by accident is if you stitch from here to here with this rounded edge, you could do it with this edge. But if you do it with this rounded edge, and I'm just going to put my needle down right there in that point, which means I need my spacing gauge because I want to sew to that point, it will be a perfect circle. Now, I don't know if that was intended to be that way or not, but it sure does give you something great to build off of when you're using your templates to make a medallion or something like that. So 1/4 of an inch for your measurement. Stitch to that point. So as you can see, this is curved right there. And you're going to stay right in that curved area. And again, I would have secured that. But I now have a perfect circle around that design. So that way, if I was going to build out more, obviously I don't have any room here to build, but if I was going to build this out, I've got this nice circle here that I can use to build out. And let me just show you a couple of things that you could do on that. So I'm going to go from here to here. Right there's what I'm lining up. And that will make this right in the center. And I can come over and do the same thing and get that right in the center. So what I could do is I could take my spacing gauge and use it as my measuring tool. And let's take and measure out an inch here. And we'll do the same thing over here and over here. I know you guys are going to think I'm absolutely crazy, but this is me. So I'm going to take my circle here and I'm going to put it in where I made that inch mark. I'd pull that thread up, but I'm going to bring this around. So I need to measure there. I could do any shape with this. I just picked the circle because it was right there beside me. And I'm going to measure because I want this to stop right in that spot. Okay, so now I'm going to take it from there and I'm going to measure here, or I could put it on there so that that line's lined up and measure. And I'm going to keep doing this because this is going to build out a design. So let me just go ahead and cut my thread there. So you can see, and you're thinking, well, why didn't you just go from there to there? Well, this looks like a perfect half circle, but it's not. So you can see when I put this here, it's a little bit off over here. So I can't just stitch from there to there. But this way I can do a scallop around that particular design. So anyhow, it's just a matter of playing with it. You could use a straight line. You could have used the top of the other end of this particular Spinning Wheels 36 design. Just remember, your templates are straight edges and you can just do all kinds of things. Okay, one that I bet you don't even know exists, and I'm going to get it out, is a template that has, I believe it's 5 sizes of triangles. So I've got little triangles. There is a piece here that when you're not using it there, you're going to be using it here to finish these off. Actually, I think it has its own piece because I just now felt it in the bag because the lettering's different. But anyway, and so I'm going to use this particular one there. So there's the one that goes there. There we go. So let's come over here and we're going to draw a box. Ruthie lets me have my template. I think I'll get a new piece of fabric. That be okay with you, Ruthie? So I don't know if some of you have heard this story, but All of our pets have candy bar names. So Ruthie is Baby Ruth. And little Mr. Musket laying over here by the side being such a good little boy. He's Three Musketeers, so we call him Musket. Our vet thinks we're absolutely crazy. That's okay. And our dogs, well, we had Almond Joy. She met her demise one day. That was a kitty too. So I'm going to make an, let's see, what size square do I want? This makes a 3. So we're going to make a 7. And our dogs, we've had Snick and Twix. And now we have Crunch and Heath and Rolo. So there you go. All right. So let's find the center of this. Easy enough. And I could do what I'm doing right now with my crosshair, but I can also do it this way. So hopefully I've thought this out right, because what I want to do is I want to put a triangle inside that. So I am going to just stitch it. I'm not going to pull my thread up. So I've got that perfect triangle inside that box. Now I could have put it on the line if I wanted to. I didn't really want to do that. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to line it up the same way. You can see there's a line there, and I'm lining that on that crossbar. But I'm going to start down here. And if I rotate this, I can do a square in there. So I've made a box in a whole lot faster fashion than it would be if I was just using a straight edge. Now, I'm not saying that's the way you're going to pull those together, but it does make it so that you can, there are lines on here that you can line up with those corners right there. So let's do this as an outside box. And you could see you could come over to this corner. And I'm lining up all of those again. So that you could have just those on the outsides and another design here on the inside. So the triangles are a lot of fun. You can even stack them. So if I wanted this to go through here, I'm going to be 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and put that needle down right there. I'm going to line that up. And when you get on to doing this, because some of you have probably done this before with some of your other shapes. Let me go this way to show you. I'm going to draw a line out like this. And you can do there's a line there in the center and there's one here. So you can do half of your triangle, move it up, line it up, half of your triangle, move it up, line it up. This one we're going to do all of it. Move it back down. And this way, if you were putting these into a border, you would be able to do that border without having to stop and start. So you can see how that works as far as being able to take that triangle and quickly do a border. So again, this one was the 3-inch. The package comes with, if you get the whole set, this is part of that London collection. It comes with, oh, where does it say? This is old packaging and they aren't as clear as what the new packagings are. You can see here how they used that also. So it is 4-inch, 3-inch, 2-inch, 1.5 inch, and 1 inch. So a lot of things that you can do with those. That's the triangles. They also have the squares. I didn't get the squares out, but they work the same way. And as you saw when I first started, I even went ahead and did a square just like that. So templates, oh my gosh, so much fun, so many things to do. And that's why I like to come on these odd Mondays and just do some different things, because of the fact that that way you get to see more of what we as educators may have in our stock but never use to teach. So if anybody has any questions, I think I'm finished for this odd Monday. And since today is the 5th, I guess I will see you on odd Monday, the 19th. And I just appreciate all of you joining. We had a great time tonight, you guys. I just looked on the floor and saw the other piece. We have gone through quite a few things, and I know that this will be in So Steady's YouTube. So if you know somebody that might have missed it, share it with them so that they can watch. So thank you, everyone. I hope you're having a great start to your new year, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye now.